Hi, I'm Mindy Sutherland,
I'm Camila Wright.
and this is a presentation of our bilingual classroom observation at John Murdy Elementary in Garden Grove.
At Murdy Elementary, we observed a first grade class. The teacher was Miss Lee, and she told us that this is her first year teaching the Vietnamese bilingual immersion class. This class was made up of 100% Vietnamese students. However, half of them spoke English as their first language, while the other half spoke Vietnamese as their first language.
When we were researching the school demographics, we could see that the total enrollment is 485 students. Data from the 2017-2018 school year show us that 51% of their students are English learners, with more than 200 of the students speaking Vietnamese at home, and more than half of their student body speaks another language at home. Almost 70% of their students receive free or reduced lunch.
John Murdy Elementary School is located on Bosa in the heart of Little Saigon, which is a cluster of Vietnamese-owned businesses. Little Saigon was established in the 1970s as refugees from the Vietnam War arrived to start new lives in Orange County. The businesses are an important center of the Vietnamese community and host cultural events throughout the year. John Murdy is located right in the middle of it.
Although the main languages at John Murdy Elementary are English and Vietnamese, there are also Spanish resources in the front office.
In the first grade classroom that we observed, there were many types of signs in both English and Vietnamese. There was an alphabet in the front of their room in Vietnamese. There were also labels around the classroom for certain objects, such as the teacher's chair. Just like you would find in a typical first grade classroom, there was a word wall for Vietnamese sight words. There was also a chart of picture vocabulary for common words.
Students use both languages for reading, learning, and doing assignments and speaking with others. However, when it's a specific time in the classroom for each language, they can only communicate with the teacher in that language. As we circulated the room during independent work, we could hear them utilizing both English and Vietnamese when speaking with peers. The teacher told us that students are aware of who in the classroom is more comfortable with each language, and the students changed their language to match who they're speaking with based on comfortability level. While we were there, the teacher was doing an art activity in Vietnamese. They were making lanterns for the school-wide Mid-Autumn Festival parade that was happening later that same day.
So in this classroom, they spend half of the day giving instruction in English and half the day is in Vietnamese. So in the front of the classroom on the whiteboard, she has an American flag and a Vietnamese flag. So she just points using an arrow magnet to show which language they're supposed to be using. But she's pretty flexible, especially when students are speaking amongst themselves. She uses anchor charts in Vietnamese and English to support her teaching and they also provide visual reminders that students can reference. She has Vietnamese reading assessments and Vietnamese picture books in fiction and nonfiction for students to explore. Miss Lee herself was raised in the area and speaks Vietnamese as her first language. She is responsible for designing the Vietnamese academic content in her classroom.
The languages spoken at home by the students at John Murdy are English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. They also have speakers that come in and talk to the students who were veterans of the Vietnam War, a significant event for the school's community. So some of the languages used, as mentioned, are Vietnamese and English, and right now, school-wide, they have TK, kindergarten, and first grade as the dual language programs, and they will continue with each grade level as it continues, as the dual language program continues.
So the way that the classroom was arranged was that there were 5 table teams where students sat together around the table. The front of the classroom had a whiteboard, and there was an open space on the rug with dots for students to sit at. At the back of the classroom, she had a library that had books in both Vietnamese and English, and they were nonfiction and fiction.
So, parent involvement, because it was the second week of school for the students, the teacher didn't know whether or not she was going to have parent volunteers for her specific classroom. Although, for the school, it's pretty large parent involvement. They typically have a lot of volunteers and involvement based on what Miss Lee said. That day, there was a mid-autumn festival going on that the students were going to participate in, and there was a parade, and students got to eat mooncakes, which was supported by the family volunteers from the whole school because it is an annual event. Not specifically from her classroom because, as I said, she doesn't have parent volunteers yet. They also have a really large cultural celebration at the school for Tet, which is the Vietnamese New Year in the late winter time, like January, February. Thank you so much for listening.